I have the next pick, right?
Yeah.
Yes. I'm going Minnesota here.
Okay.
I actually have them in my Indiana Jones tier. That's the other team along with Milwaukee. I was surprised I had them here, but when I was like looking at this roster, looking at their payroll situation, I'm like, is this it for Minnesota? Because look, they're at risk of being a second tax team a second year tax team, a second apron tax team for 2 years in a row next season. They're already a second tax team this season, and it's been well publicized. They can't afford that. We weren't even sure they were going to be able to afford it this year, and it sounds like they're going to just bite the bullet and do it. 2 years in a row, probably not. The whole ownership thing, they'll figure that part out. But Gobert has and Naz Reid both have player options. I think I have that right. Gobert at like 46.6, Naz Reid at 15 million. And that could relieve like the tax concerns a little bit, but then you're losing a really important player to your championship caliber roster. So this isn't to say that the window would close all the way. Like, I'm not trying to say that, but in terms of like this core, the Anthony Edwards, Gobert, Karl-Anthony Towns, Naz Reid team, Mike Conley team. Mike Conley obviously also on the other side of 35 or whatever, however old he is now. This might be it for this team. Like, Anthony Edwards is good enough to that window can be pried back open, but I think they would still be like a move away. Even if they were to move off of one of these pieces, it would still take maybe a year or two to get back to where they were last year, which was a Western Conference Finals. So they could reopen the window, but I think this window for this team, this core, might be done after this season.
Yeah, I think that's fair because I've been saying this for a while. Barring Rudy Gobert taking some ridiculously undervalued contract just to extend years out or whatever it may be, one of him, Karl-Anthony Towns, and Naz Reid is not going to be there next year.
At least
like one of those three is going to be gone. It's whether it's they trade Towns, Gobert leaves in free agency, or they trade him, or Naz Reid just ups and leaves in free agency because free agent class is terrible and Minnesota can't pay him. And, he just wants to be in a bigger role, maybe a starter, whatever, who knows. But one of those three guys is not going to be there. They're on my list, but I had them way lower. But the reason why is I just believe that much in Anthony Edwards that I think what happens when you have a guy like Anthony Edwards, I'm with you. This core group, yeah, we're on short years. Maybe this year, maybe you can squeeze one more year out of it, even if one or two smaller moves are made. But I think Edwards alone kind of blows your window out where it becomes you got to be very smart. You have to be really, cautious how you do this. But I think you can reset this team around him very quickly where it can be, okay, maybe we take a little step back now, right, but it's to take a big step up forward in a year later. Like that could be where this kind of all comes together. But you made a great point there. It's not tolerable for them to be this expensive for very long. It is still one of the most shocking things to me that we're talking about them ahead of Boston and Milwaukee this year in terms of payroll. Like they're running down the Suns almost. And that's not going to be a year over year thing. It's ultimately going to cost them a player or two because that's going to be how it goes. But I don't know. I had him a little lower on my list because of Anthony Edwards.
And we're saying the same thing here. Like Anthony Edwards, you probably have to take maybe a gap year. You probably have to make some additions or something. And then that window is wide open again. And maybe that's the next version of this thing. I love that the Timberwolves went for it, by the way, with Gobert and all these things. Like, we could dispute the details of the trade and whether or not they overpaid for him, but like, it's already, you could argue, worked. They made the Western Conference Finals last year, right? Like,
agreed. Yeah.
So I think they're on the list of contenders for a reason. I think they're gonna be right up there again this year. Anthony Edwards is ridiculous. He's awesome. He's coming off of the Olympic run. He's got a gold medal now. I can't wait to watch him. But man, wouldn't it be cool if he like won it like this with this team? And it's almost like, and I'm always going to relate everything back to the Miami Heat if I can. It's like 2006 Dwayne Wade doing it with Shaq.
Yeah.
And then there's a couple of years in between where, okay, like it's not viable anymore. We got to kind of reset it. And then boom, there's another window there with, I don't know that Anthony Edwards is going to play with LeBron, but who knows? Maybe, who knows? I'm not going to rule it out.